Alright guys, let's get started. So we're going to build from Papa Smurf's feet up. So make a slip knot. We use the number 4 millimeter. And you are going to chain 7. So in the first chain you're going to put 2 single crochets in the same space. Then you're going to single crochet 4 all the way up till you get to the last, or the first chain, really, first chain you made. And in this one lonely chain here, you're going to put 4 single crochets. So that's just your slip knot that's opened. You can just pull that closed as tight as you can and turn your work. Starting in this next chain, this is your slip knot. You're going to go right into the next chain and you're going to crochet 4 back up to here. And I'm just weaving in my tail at the back here, but you don't have to. I know how awkward it can be. So once you got your 4 and your tail, which I'm going to cut off later, your next stitch, which is an oddball, weird sideways stitch, you're going to put 2 single crochets in there. This next foldy over stitch, it's all folded over, so it's going to be difficult. You're going to put 2 single crochets in there. You like my terminologies? Foldy over stitch and yeah, sidewaysy stitch. So from here you're going to single crochet 4. The next stitch, the next 2 stitches, you're going to put 2 half double crochets in each stitch. The next 2 stitches here, you're going to put 2 double crochets in each stitch. And these next 2 stitches, you're going to put 2 half double crochets in each stitch. Single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So we're back up to where we started. So that's going to be the shape of your little booty foot. So from here, from our starting point and around, we are going to one single crochet in each stitch, but we're going to do it in the back loops only. So that's going to take your foot from being flat to being up, if that makes sense. So back loops only. Now they're looking right at you, so you don't need to go try to find them or anything. You don't need to turn it. You don't need to do anything like that. Let me get my pointer. That's your back loop right there, right there, right there. So they're looking right at you. So it's not as hard as it seems. So one single crochet in each stitch, back loops only, all the way around. So if you wanted to, so you know where you're at, you can put a stitch marker right there, so that way you know that's your starting and stopping point. So that way you should count, or you can count. We should have 24 stitches if we've done everything correctly. I got So once you come back around, your next round, oh, before we do our next round, this guy here, if you didn't weave him in like I did, you can just tie a knot and then cut him off. But I weaved him in, so I'm just going to give him a little snip. I'm not going to give him a full snip, but we can turn our work now inside out before we continue. So I'm going to put one more back loop one in here because that's where our stitch marker was, and it didn't get a back loop stitch. I just stick my marker back in there. So our next round is just going to be one single crochet in each stitch around in the complete stitch. So you don't have to do back loops anymore, you're in your full stitch. And your 24th one will go into where the stitch marker was and get your stitch marker again. So I guess I'm kind of doing this stitch marker thing backwards, but that's fine. So this is the beginning of your little booty. Super cute. So we're going to single crochet 11. That's 11. And we're going to do one single crochet and a decrease, and we're going to do that 3 times. So one single crochet and then 2 together. That's 1 time. One single crochet, 2 together. That's 2 times. One single crochet and 2 together is 3 times. And then you can single crochet back to your marker, Sorry, I'm trying to deal with this great big ginormous ball of red. So next you're going to single crochet 10. That's 10. Then you're going to decrease 4 times. So there's no single crochet, it's just straight into the decrease. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And that's 4. And then single crochet. To your marker. So we're going to do one more decrease and then we're going to start building the legs. So that's how tiny your foot is. So you're going to single crochet 9. That is 9. So you're going to do exactly what you did before, but you're just going to decrease 3 times. That's a 1. Two, and then 3 is at your marker. And we're going to put our marker back in right there. So there's your tiny little Smurf foot. And now you're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So you're going to continue to repeat that for 14 rows, and then build your other foot and leg, and I will put the pause screen up with the directions. Alrighty, so I got both my legs. I didn't fasten off with this guy because we're gonna sew these legs together with a space in between. So it's up to you how much space you want in between your legs. That's what it looks like, and this is actually sewed together, but you can't really tell. So you're gonna end up with a hole in your crotch, but that will sew together like that so that you can't even really tell that it's been done. So there's not going to be a number count for anything here because it all depends on what you do, really. You got your legs. You're gonna get your legs how you want them. So if you do want the feet out like that a little bit on your Papa Smurf, then put them like that so you can match up your stitches. I'm just going to have mine like this, side by side, facing the right way. So you want to take your stitch marker and you want to put it through your stitches that line up, preferably. So once you have your legs together with your stitch marker, you're going to single crochet until you get to your marker, and in my case it's just one. My gap is a chain 3, but if you don't want a big gap like that, then just chain 2. If you want a bigger gap, then you can chain more than that. And then you're just going to come across into the stitch next to the stitch marker. Your stitch marker is kind of taking up that space. And then you're just going to proceed to single crochet around till you get to your stitch marker again. You're going to have this crap spot where you fastened off. Just try to get in there the best you can. So you're back around to your stitch marker. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to chain 3 or however many numbers you're chaining. Go. My stitch marker's in there, so I'm going to go into the only one I can get into, really. That's the way you want to think about it. And then just single crochet back around to where you started. So I started at the 1 stitch before my stitch marker, so I'm just going to stop there. So once you have that done, then you can remove your stitch marker, as you're just trying to keep your legs together. You aren't really marking anything. So you can decide to put your stitch marker back in wherever you want to put it back in. That's why we're not doing numbers anymore. I can be giving you numbers because I don't know what you did just here, and I'm not going to know where you put your stitch marker. I'm going to put my stitch marker at the back of my doll, because whatever I do back there, stopping and starting and color changes, I don't want it to be up front where it's going to be noticeable. So I'm probably going to put my stitch marker here at the back of this leg, just right after my chain. So you're going to single crochet around whatever numbers you have here. You're just going to single crochet around 1 round, and then we're going to start increasing for the belly right away. So it's just going to be 1 round of 1 single crochet in each stitch. You're going to have to try to get into these 3 stitches to make it look proper. So that's going to be the difficult part. It's not really difficult, it's awkward is what it is. So but thankfully there's only a 3 chain gap, so it wasn't that bad. And then we're going to do the same thing, obviously, on the other side. So it's hard to hold and it's very awkward, but the only way to get a standing doll, I mean, you can have Papa Smurf sit if you know how to do that. So just make sure you definitely get into that stitch just before the chain and then just after the chain, because it's super important. So I'm not trying to really push, I'm just being as gentle as I can. I seem to get further that way, being gentle. So once you come back, once you come to your stitch marker, I know we're not back around to where we started, and that's fine. It's not going to matter because we're going to start decreasing or increasing anyway. So your first round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. So this is our first one. Or wherever you've put your marker. That's 3 single crochets and then an increase. So we're almost back around to where we started anyway. That's why it really doesn't make a difference, and we're just increasing. So we do again 3 single crochets. Oh, what did I just do? I don't know if I just did. Let me do this again. I don't know what I just did. 1, 2, 3. I think I just did 2 together instead of an increase. An increase is 2. I think I did a decrease. 2 in that hole. Swear I just did a decrease. Anyway, don't follow me. 1, 2, 3 single crochets and an increase. So 2 in this hole. So do that all the way around to your marker. And I'm probably going to speed this up. Here we go. Okay. So I had to raise that up a bit. So I had to, the further up it gets, the more closer it gets to the camera, and it's just very difficult. So this round we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. Oh, what am I stuck on? So that's number 1. 2 single crochets and then 2 in the same stitch. So when we're done the red, we'll take care of this hole in the crotch. So for the next 4 rows, you can just do 1 single crochet in each stitch. If you have a row counter, you can use that. So I'm not going to do obviously all 4 rows with you, so I will leave you to that, and I will meet you back on the other side after my pause screen. Alright, I got my 3 rows done. So we're going to start decreasing. Just a little bit. So we're going to do 3 single crochets and a decrease. So there's 1. If this doll seems small, it's because it is. Smurfs are small. So 2, 3 single crochets and then your decrease. And then again 3 single crochets and a decrease. You can do this all the way around. So one more single crochet around. Actually, single crochet around. Yeah, single crochet around. I was going to say single crochet around to your marker. If your marker's in a weird spot, single crochet around till, if your marker's up in the front, single crochet around to the back. We're going to change colors, but you want to change colors in the back, not the front. So my marker's already in the back, so you're just going to simply do single crochet all the way around, and then we're going to change to our blue if your marker's in the back like mine. Once we do change colors too, we're going to be sewing up the crotch so we can actually put stuffing in it, just so it's easier to hold. I mean, some people may not like the stuffing to hold onto your project, but sometimes, depending on the situation. Alright, so get your blue ready. So just make a slip knot. This is the easiest way to do it. So after you've made your slip knot, you're going to take your hook, you're going to go into the next stitch. You're going to put that on your hook. And of course mine is split into different pieces. Make sure you get your lead. You're going to pull through, and then you're going to pull through to make a stitch. So make sure you pull the red right down, and then you're just going to continue to single crochet around with the new color. So I'm going to weave in my red and my blue tail as I go, just so there's no chance of it coming undone. Now keep in mind, this is all going to be stuffed and it's all going to be jammed down in there, but I like to take extra precautions because I don't like the thought of a doll coming apart while my grandkids are playing with it, or, you know, it would just absolutely break their heart. Not only that, but depending on the age, you don't want them to swallow any of this polyfill either. So I'm just going to weave the red in for a bit, and then we'll sew up the crotch so that we can put some stuffing in this bad boy. So I'm done with my blue tail, and I'm just weaving in the red still. So it's up to you how far you want to go with it. I know it can be annoyingly awkward, so that's probably fine. So I'm just going to snip off the red, and then you could just take a little piece for sewing. Put a slip knot in the one side, the one end of it. Get your needle, thread your needle on the other side. So we're going to do what's called a whip stitch. So we're going to start, it's going to be very difficult to show you, so we're going to start right on the edge of the leg. And of course I'm using a red needle too, so it's probably not going to be, I mean, I'll zoom in as much as I can. So go through your slip knot that you just made, and you're going to pull that, and you're going to pull it like tight, so that way the knot is really small. And I know this is going to be so hard to show you. You're just going to go, gosh, I don't even know how I'm going to show you. So we're going to do what's called a whip stitch, and if you guys out there know what one is, then fabulous, because this is going to be so hard to show you since it's a crotch. So you're going to go through the bare minimum. So you're just going to go through the stitches. You're just picking up the stitches. You don't want to pick up any more than the stitches, or it's going to, oh crap, there. Or it's going to be noticeable. So don't think for 1 minute that it's not going to hold, because it will hold. So you're just going to go through the stitches. A whip stitch is generally back loop to back loop. And I know I have a red needle, and I'm so sorry I didn't think that through, but hopefully you can see that. So you're going through the, but it will hold, trust me. I haven't had my other doll come undone, and it's exactly how I did it. So you just don't want it to be noticeable. And if you want, you can put more than one stitch in there. It's still not going to be noticeable. So grab whatever you can in the leg part. You may have to grab more than one piece in the leg part. So try not to pull too tight, or it might be noticeable. So whatever you have left here, because you've got stuffing in your leg, you can just go down into a stitch as close as you can to this guy. As close as you can, we'll do it on this side, so that it just looks like a stitch. But go down into the stuffing and then pop out somewhere. You weave this in through the stuffing, and no one's even going to notice. If you go down close enough to your lead and you pop out somewhere, no one's going to notice, because it'll just look like a stitch, just like that. And then you get to weave this in, and it shouldn't come undone, because you certainly don't want to tie off anything. Or so go in different directions. Kind of confuses it. You don't have to pull tight. If you pull tight, you may end up with a divot. So you can do this as much as you want. I mean, I've got a crap ton of yarn, but you don't think it's necessary. So then your part of your can't think all of a sudden, slip knot, you can do the same thing. So oops. So just weave that down into the leg and just pull out. Now you could have tied a knot there and then poked it back in, but it's just part of the slip knot. You tied that knot pretty tight up there. So now you can put stuffing in the body part, and that'll give you a better idea of what you're working with. But as far as your crotch, it's not going to be noticeable that you just sewed it up. So we should be good to go. So we'll continue our single crochets back to our marker, which I don't have in because I switched colors. So, but back to where we switched. So the blue I'm using is not a worsted weight, and but it is a 4-weight. It's not a red heart either. It's a Burnett. I thought I was using a red heart, but I actually switched. So it's Burnett Premium is what I'm using. It's still a 4-weight yarn, but I had red heart and I must have ran out of it. So I think at this point we're going to do another decrease. So finish your stitches back to where your marker would be, which is right here. So you can put your marker in and count that as one stitch. You're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease. So that's number 1, and that's 2, and then your decrease. So 1, 2, and a decrease. So do this all the way around. So for the next 3 rows, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So I'm obviously not doing them all with you. But I will meet you on the other side of this. So 1 single crochet each stitch around for the next 3 rows. I'll put my pause screen up so you know what you're doing. And I'll meet you on the other side. So I've got my 3 rows done. I just decided I was going to put some stuffing in. So make sure you get it right down into this leg, because we never really completely filled our legs up. So if you're going to stuff it, that's where you're going to stuff it first, is the legs. So keep in mind, Papa Smurf was a little bit of a chunky monkey. I'm just trying to fill my legs out down there. I've got too much in there right now. Sometimes if you got too much in there, it's hard to move it around. I just want my legs to be nice and sturdy so that he stands up on his own, leaning up against something, of course. I have no idea why it keeps popping out of this leg. But also remember, you don't want to overfill one and not the other one, because then you're going to have 2 different sized legs. So people think stuffing is just shoving the crap in there, but it's not. You're going to make sure your legs stay the same size. I don't want bunching, so I'm just going to pull my stuffing apart. So when I'm putting it in, I'm just kind of pushing it off to the side so that it fills up around the sides, because he was a chunky monkey, like I said. So I don't want to put too much in yet. You can always play with it later. That's what your crotch should look like. Hard to see, kind of. Everything's red. But so we're going to do another decrease. And we're going to do another 2 single crochet decrease. Even though we already did one, we're going to do another one. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, just like we did before we did our rows of singles. Decrease all the way around. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and a decrease. Alrighty. I had to change my battery. So, we've done our second decrease. This is what you should have. So for the next 5 rows, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 5 rows. So I will, oh, wrong one. I will put up my pause screen, and I will meet you back here after we've done our 5 rows. Alright, I got my 5 rows done. So we're going to decrease a little bit for starting to come up on the neck part. So we're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease. So there's our first one. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and a decrease. So let's do this all the way around. So before we started our decrease, I had 23 stitches, if that helps. I don't know what you're doing, if you're following along with me or not. So this decrease should take it down to 16 stitches. And somehow I'm short, so I'm just going to move my stitch marker. I'm short a stitch. But that's fine. I mean, you can mess up. No one's going to notice. So after this, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So I have 16 stitches. So now we're going to increase a lot because we're going to start the head. So when you start stuffing this, it's just not going to look like all belly and then neck. It will. I know right now it seems like it, but it will expand when you start stuffing this. So I actually built it so you couldn't really see the neck, but technically we kind of have to make one, so that's why I just came in a little bit there. So just press your stuff out to the outside. You want to get a significant amount in there, but considering what or who we're building, the reason I wasn't too serious about a neck is because of this great big beard. So I really didn't do a whole lot for the neck part, and like I instantly start going into the head. So that is why it looks funny right now, but trust me, it all comes together. It actually looked funny when I was designing it the entire time, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna stick with it. Keep going, it'll all work out at the end. So I don't want to overstuff for now, so I'm just going to kind of my stuffing up to there. I'll jam some more in after. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So that should bring you up to 32 stitches, and it seems aggressive because I wanna make a nice round head. So that's why I chose to do it like that. So after your first stitch, you want to put your marker in and then put your second stitch in. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around. There we go. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So I'll meet you on the other side. Alright, so for the next round, it's going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. So it's going to get pretty squishy in here, as you can already tell. So you're just going to have to pull your work apart to find your stitches. That's 2, and that's 3, and then 2 in the next hole. So 3 single crochets and an increase. Continue doing that, and I will meet you on the other side. So we're not gonna do our 1 single crochet all the way around. We're gonna go get right into our 4 single crochets and an increase, and then we'll do our 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 3 rows. So if you want to work ahead, that's what we're going to be doing. Right now it's going to be 4 single crochets. I already got my 1 in there. And then an increase. So 4 single crochets. And then increase. And I have an extra stitch, which is no big deal. So now for the next 3 rows, we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then we're going to start our decrease. So we're coming up around the head. So I will meet you back here after our 3 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So now we're going to start to decrease. So you can do 4 single crochets and a decrease to start. So that's 1. Four single crochets and a decrease. Oops. I went into the same hole, and a decrease. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. Put your 1 in there. That'll be number 2, number 3, and then a decrease all the way around. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So at this point you should have 32 stitches. So this is where you can count your stitches. So that's number 1. Well, at least I should have. So if you're following me, we should have 32 stitches. It all depends on what you did with your legs down here too. You're not going to be quite on track with me if you did a bigger separate space. Do you know what I mean? If you chained 4 instead of 3, or so your next round is going to be 2 single crochet and a decrease. So that's number 1. 2 single crochets and a decrease. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease, and then we're going to stop and we're going to make the white parts for the eyes, and we're going to put all that on and stuff. So we're not going to continue the head until after that. So last round for this. Oh, we're going to do the pants too. 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So you should have 24 stitches if you're following me. There we go. So go get your white and your safety eyes, and I'll meet you right back here. Alright, so we're building this part in a minute. Before we get there, we're going to put this on. This is just an added chain I did around the pants. So I know we're not complete here with his head, but there's a reason why we're doing this. And this isn't really, this can be done whenever, but we might as well do it now while we're doing this. So all you need to do for the pants is let's move this up a bit. Take a slip knot. So you don't want to go in too high because you don't want the blue showing. So if I was to go in there, then some of the blue is going to be showing, and I think that would look horrible. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to attach it. So if I put that in there, you still got some of this blue showing. So you have to make sure that you put it right on the line. So turn your guy around so his bum is showing. We'll start this at the back, and you can start it where you joined your color. This isn't going to be even, but we're going to come down like this when we get back around. So you're going to start it in your red. You're going to make a stitch. So pull on your tail. Tighten that all up. And you're just going to go around picking up every single post, that's what it's called, and making a single crochet. So you're just creating stitches on top of stitches. So this is going to make it look like he has an actual waistband to his pants, and it's going to make it feel like his pants and his body are actually two separate entities. And one just kind of melds into the other. And I just thought it looked really stupid, so I decided to add this part so it didn't look so stupid. So I'm not really pulling tight, I'm just putting them there. Doesn't take too long, it's not a big doll at all. So we're coming up on our little dip. So here we're going to go down on an angle this way. And we're going to make a stitch, and by the time we slip stitch, it's not even going to be noticeable. So we're going to slip stitch and pull it tight, and you can fasten off with a decent sized tail so that we can weave it in nice, so no risk of it falling or coming undone. So you can't even tell that we dipped down in that spot, so that's how you take care of that business. So we can just, this is the side our knot's gonna, I want to pull down on that knot, so go down into the bum this way. Whoops. Down into the bum from the top. Pop out wherever you pop out. Doesn't have to be specific. So when you pull on that, it's going to move that knot up and over, so it's not going to be noticeable, or as noticeable anyway. And then when you go back in, go as close as you can to your yarn without going into the same hole, and weave in another direction, so when you pull, it's just going to look like it's a stitch. So that should just look like a stitch by the time I'm done. Right, like that. I think I'll go one more time down out his bum. So to be safer, you can tie a knot. That's just an added safety thing, just so you know for a fact nothing's gonna pop open or come undone. Tie a knot and just pull it down as close as you can to the doll. Cut off some of this, and then just take your scissors and push that knot down inside the stuffing. Make sure you really get it into the stuffing. And then the knot should get tangled, as well as it being weaved in different directions. The knot should also get tangled up in the filling, whatever kind of filling you're using, whether it be cotton or polyfill. So just take your little piece here, jam it down, same idea, but you only need to do it once because it is a slip knot, so there's already a knot there. Pull it through, cut it off. So there, you got your pants done, and we can set this red aside for now. So there's your little pants, and we'll do the, we'll set the doll aside and get your white. And we'll make his eyes. So I'll turn my lighting down so that you can see this white better. So you just make a slip knot. You're still using your number 4. I try not to do too many projects when I'm designing them that are going to switch. I've done a couple, but for the most part I try to keep with the same hook. So you're going to chain 5. You're going to, in the first stitch you can get into, you're going to put a single crochet. Next stitch you're going to put a single crochet. Next stitch you're going to put a half double crochet. So yarn over like a double crochet. Go into the stitch, grab some yarn, pull through, but then you're going to pull through all 3. That's a half double crochet. And then in the last stitch you're going to put 4 half double crochets, all in the same space. Oh, I got a snag. Number 3, and the last one, 4. So this is just your slip knot. So it's a slip knot is supposed to move. So if it opens like that, it's no big deal. You can just pull that shut. You're going to turn it sideways like we did with the feet. So now your slip knot's now on the top. Make sure it's pulled shut pretty good. You're going to put 1 half double crochet in the next stitch right beside that slip knot. I'm weaving in my end here, not that it really matters, you're not going far. Next stitch you're going to put a single crochet in there. Pull everything nice and tight. And you're going to go into this top weird stitch. Make sure you're picking up both pieces of yarn. You're going to do a slip stitch. Hold tight. Actually, you know what it reminds me of is a leaf that I did for my roses, or even sort of the same concept. So leave a tail for sewing. This guy can get snipped off because I weaved him in. If you didn't weave yours in, you're gonna have to tie a knot and cut it off, or whatever you want to do. So that's his one eye dealy. Oh, it's my little snag that I got snagged on. So eye number 2, need to make 2 of those, so I'll just do that with you. Nice and quick and easy peasy. Slip knot, chain 5. In the first stitch you're going to single crochet. The next stitch you're going to single crochet. Oops. Not even listening to myself when I'm talking. The next stitch you're going to single crochet. The next stitch you're going to half double crochet. And then the next stitch you're going to put 4 half double crochets. Pull your slip knot closed, and then a half double goes right in beside your slip knot. Then you're going to do a single crochet, and then right up in this weird stitch you're going to do a slip stitch, and you're going to fasten off with a decent size tail. And this guy is just going to snip off. So your eyes have to be small enough to, first of all, fit his head. So I'm pretty sure I just did these tiny little eyes. I might have went a little bigger. I had done these size. Yeah, I did those, which are 8mm eyes. So that's what I did, is 8mm eyes. But we're not putting the backs on until it goes through the entire head. So find a hole to stick it into. Find a spot. And so we're going to build the head for a little bit more, and then we're going to stick these on and sew them on before we finish the head. That's because we can, it's just easier to do it that way. So back to the head. Hold on, I'm going to raise my camera up. Oh, maybe I can do it this way. My camera's higher, there's more space, because the doll gets so big to the point where I just struggle and then I hurt my back. So, we're going to do another round of 1 single crochets in each stitch around. Then we're going to do another decrease. So this still should be 24 stitches if you are working with me. So I had to move my camera. It was getting awkward. So in this next round, you're going to decrease again, and then we're going to attach the eyes. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and then a decrease. So that's our 1. And then your decrease. 1 single crochet and a decrease. So we're going to do that all the way around. So make sure your feet are pointed forwards for this. So get the backs for your eyes. So you're going to have to make sure that these are, so you're going to have to make sure they're even. So over each leg, lined up with each leg. So I did the 5th row from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is where I plunked my eye. So it's pretty thick, depending on what yarn you used for there to get through them all. So it is quite difficult to try to get this on and then be able to see properly. Sorry, I have to stand mine up and look at mine before I do anything wrong. I think that's okay, But I do think for the most part that the two whites should be together. So I'm going to move my one eye over. I'm just making it more difficult to get through the... If you wanted to stuff your head a little bit too, you can probably do that. Mine don't look like they're in the right spot. So I think that might be okay. So it's not that easy to get your backs on, especially when you're all tangled up in your yarn. So it's super not easy. That one went on okay. The first two I did not go on. One kept popping off. There. So that's what mine are going to look like. So you can sew your eyes on. So once I got my eyes done, I'm just going to take these two pieces of thread. So when I came around up here, I went back down under here, back over here to come back around, so that I did the same thing here, so that my two ends would meet up inside the head like that at the top. So that are my eyes. So we don't need to worry about the nose or anything. We can actually just put some stuffing in here. And make sure you get it right down into the chest. I think I'm still filling up the belly part. I haven't even filled up the head part yet. I am just making sure I push all that out to the side. You want to make sure his head is filled, but you also want to make sure his head is round. So we're going to do one single crochet in each stitch around, and then we're going to start closing up the head. So when you're doing this, squeeze the head. Like you want to make sure everything's nice and tight. Oh, I just put that right in my way. So your next round is going to be a decrease round. It's just one single crochet and a decrease. Again. And I end up with an extra stitch, so I'm just going to put a single crochet in there. So your next round is going to be to decrease 6 times, so just nothing but a decrease, and then whatever we have left we're just going to sew shut. If you think it needs more stuffing, which I think mine could probably use a little bit more stuffing, you can still fit it into this hole, as long as you can get a finger in there. So put whatever you think it needs remaining. You can always squish your head and move your stuffing around after. I just want to make sure it's up underneath this lip. He's going to be wearing a hat, so you don't have to be overly anal about it, but you don't want his head to be collapsing every time somebody pushes on it either. So what you're going to do next is go into this next stitch. You're going to do a slip stitch, and you're going to fasten off. So do it with a little bit to sew, because you're going to sew around the top here. Sometimes I gotta wet the end. It's a big head needle, but sometimes it just wants to be a pain. So to sew the top up, you're going to come through this stitch, just one of the pieces of yarn, and go into the next stitch. And you're going to do the same thing over here. So you're just pulling that shut. Do that as many times as you want. And then you're just going to go down into the doll, and you're going to weave this end in. This guy's wearing a hat, so it doesn't really matter what the top looks like. And even if he wasn't wearing a hat, he would probably have hair or whatever, but weave your end in a bit. And then here you can probably move some of the stuffing around. He looks pretty funny right now, and I get that. Pretty funny. So pretty much do the arms last, because the arms tend to get in the way of stuff. So the next thing we're going to do is make a nose for this guy. And his nose is just a little tiny nose. Takes absolutely seconds to make. So we're going to use a magic ring. I'm going to use a magic ring. If you don't want to use a magic ring, you can make a slip knot, chain 2, and then in the first chain you're going to put 8 single crochets. I'm going to use a magic ring. And I'm going to put 8 single crochets into that magic ring. So there's 2 different ways you can do it. That's my 8 single crochets. So you can use a stitch marker here or not. I'm just going to count. For the next 4 rows, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of those 8 stitches. It's going to be very difficult to turn it inside out. So that's my 8. That's 1 row. My suggestion at this point, pull this tight, tie a knot, however you do it to get the knot all the way down to the bottom to there. So now at this point you can just snip this guy off, leave a little bit just so the knot doesn't come undone, because you're going to need to turn this little tiny thing inside out, and it's not that easy. So 3 more rows, 3 more rounds. I'm going to do another round and then I'm going to turn it inside out. So I'm just counting 8. So I'm just going to flip it now, inside out. You can just take your, shape it, because it's going to kind of be out of shape when you're trying to turn it around. Use that to shape it. And now we got 2 more rows of 8. So you can just count to 16. That's my 16. So you want to do a slip stitch, your next stitch, pull tight, fasten off with the tail long enough to sew with. And remember, you're just sewing on 8 stitches, so you can put stuffing in this if you want to. I put a little bit in my last one. But my suggestion to you would be only put a tiny wee bit to start. You'll have to put the rest in as you're sewing it because it'll all just get in the way. And it's very hard to stuff. So I just use the end of my hook, put my stuffing in. I think I have my big needle. Figure out where you want it. You want it really up close to your eyes. So I'm just going to do invisible stitches, which means I'm going to come in as close as I can, and I'm going to go right up into the stitches. There's a number of ways you can do this. When you come back down, you can just pop out wherever. When you go back in, you need to make sure that you're right beside this guy, not in the same hole, but as close as you can so that it looks like a stitch when you come back up into the nose. I don't want that showing. So when I pull on this, it now just looks like a stitch. So I don't pull tight when I'm coming back this way. I only pull tight when I'm going out the other way. So I'm going to come down and I'm just going to pop out here. And I did see that just move. Just got my pin stuck in there. So I'm not sure why that's moving around on me. This pin wasn't doing any good, obviously. So I'm going to go back up and I'm going to go in as close as I can. I'm trying to go down into the filling and pop right back up like that. And again, I'm not going to pull tight now. Oh crap, I went right into his eye. Okay, don't do that. Yeah, you should probably not learn how to sew from me. But I guess you're following this video, so I'm doing the best I can. So when I go back down, I'm gonna pull. So I'm gonna, after you've come full circle, you can stick more stuffing in there before you finish. But after you come full circle with your nose, you can just start weaving this in. And again, there's always the option to tie a knot, which I always like to do, just because I'm pretty anal about my things not coming off. And then I'm just going to stick that down into the stuffing so that knot will get lodged in there. And that is your nose.